took something, and it looked like
Yeah,
bishop takes d5 was played. But
yeah.
if the knight recaptures, now black has the bishop pair and the attack. This g3 knight is attacked twice thanks to this bishop on c7. It's opened up once that knight moved out of the way. Sopiko, this is starting to look worse and worse for Alireza.
Yeah, I agree with you. And he can only hope that Fabi makes some mistake in time travel. Oh, but look at this tactics. That's what Alireza is strong in. Where if bishop takes f5, knight takes f5, and queen takes f5, then rook e8 wins the queen on f5. So knight f5 is a very tricky move, but of course, Fabiano won't take it.
Right.
Rook g4 is, by the way, a threat. Maybe knight f6?
Ooh, rook g4.
Then 97. 97 is also. I'm blundering everything. Oh my god.
Well, that's how many tactics are in this position. That the knight needs to stay on d5. Rook g4 becomes a threat. This can't take on f5 because of the discovery there. So perhaps a move like queen f6 solves all of your problems at the same time. Rook g4 doesn't come with tempo. The e7 square is covered a second time, and even if you get a piece there, the check doesn't result in a queen loss. So between
the tournament leader, sorry to interrupt you, Robert, tournament leader Anish Giri just drew his game against Magnus Carlsen. We had a look at that game, so we will stay with the game of the day to day, which is Fabiano against Alireza. This is very critical moment. Fabiano, under a minute, played queen f6. If Fabiano will win this game, he will join Anish Giri and tie for the first place.
And look at that move play. Queen f6. There is no knight e7 check, no rook g4 with tempo. And look at Alireza made a move. He went rook g4 anyway. Okay.
It was not working, right?
Well, now it's very unclear because there's a threat of rook takes g7 with check, knight h6, or bishop takes h6, are both hanging. The g pawn is pinned. And can you get away with playing king h8? That's the big question at the moment. The knight can't capture on g7. It is pinned to the rook on g4, so you'd have to take with the rook on g7. But then your knight can't move from f5 because the rook needs defense. So maybe there's a c5 type of tactic. I'm just spitballing ideas here. I am not quite certain that it works out, but that is what Fabiano has to find. He's under 40 seconds. Oh my gosh. He has half a minute.
He has to find king h8 because it's the only move for Fabi. Otherwise, he will lose this game. Oh my god. No! He didn't play king h8!
What did he
do?
He
played g6.
Oh my gosh, g6. He gives up a pawn, and that's a pawn that you can capture. It's not that clear though, because the knight goes to h6, the black king goes to f8, and then your knight's sort of stranded out there for a while, and so it's not ideal for black, of course not. But that's not the end of the world, perhaps.
h6, king f8. Okay, let's just follow the game. So king f8. Now the rook is hanging. Can I somehow come back? Knight h f5 if... No, this is just lost.
But your idea was like bishop h6 check.
Yeah, bishop h6 check, yeah.
Wow, so perhaps this actually causes the most amount of confusion. The rook on g4 is hanging. So can you play rook on over to e4 and then get your knight back into g4? That's my first line of thought here. Bishop g5, actually. Does that... Oh, but then queen goes to d6
so many things,
or e5?
So many things going on. It gives me headache completely. Like, bishop g5, what happens if I play bishop g5 right now?
That's what I'm trying to look at. Like, do you play queen e5? But after queen e5, there could be like almost a bishop f4 move. I don't know. There's so many tactics. Probably not. Yeah, I with the knight on d5. I'm so focused on the queen checkmating me and the f7 pawn that I'm missing knight takes f4. But I'm scrambling for ideas here. So queen
rook went somewhere. Rook e4, I think. Yeah, rook e4. It doesn't look good for black. This is the time pressure, people. Fabiano had to find king h8, and he would have he would have big advantage. But instead, when you don't have time, you of course you don't have so much time to calculate. So he made a big mistake, kind of a blunder, and the position now looks good for white.
Although it looks good because we see the evaluation bar. Alireza
Yeah.
has no idea if his position is that good, and so
But
he's
he's
hovering.
definitely happy. Look at him, like how he's playing with such energy, and it looks like he has just woken up.
Yeah, he though is a bit nervous. You see him like he kind of was hesitating before bringing the knight back. That's a great move, and I think Black has to take on g4. There goes your two bishops advantage. You are only down one pawn, and that pawn will be doubled. But
Yeah.
Black's king is the one now that's going to be under attack.
Yeah, indeed. So I think Alireza is out of danger right now, and 1 minute is enough to reach the first time control. It is 5 moves. He is 5 moves away, and I have a feeling that Fabiano has to struggle to escape and make a draw here, because it's getting more and more clear that Alireza is doing good.
And just looking at Fabiano, it seems like he's having that sinking feeling of this should have been good for me.
Yeah.
I had something. He was spent 40 minutes and didn't play knight takes g2. He's going to be kicking himself about that. Then he's in this position where he's down a pawn, and that should not have been the case with best play by him. But in time trouble, Alireza is proving to be the stronger player right now, though the game is far from over.
Indeed. And if Alireza wins this game, he will also join the leader, Anish Giri, in the lead. They will tie for the first place, and actually they are facing each other tomorrow.
Well, we love to see that. Players who are competing for first place, that they have to go head-to-head in the final few rounds. That will promise to be a great matchup. Anish will get the white pieces.
Yeah, Anish will get the white pieces. But this game is not over. Fabiano down to
10 seconds. He
seconds.
did just move, though. And
Yeah.
he went king g7. Okay. My first reaction is, can I play c4 as white? It does not work.
D4.
It doesn't work.
Oh,
but
with bishop c3.
That's what I'm trying to make happen. I know my knight on d4 is hanging, and I don't want to just drop a piece there, but that's what I'm looking for. And the only reason c4 doesn't work is after rook takes c4, rook takes d4. If you play bishop c3, I go c5, and I protect my rook with a pawn. But if you play rook takes d4 first instead of bishop c3, then I have knight e2 check. I'll throw in that move so that I don't have a bishop c3 pin at the end. I take with the knight on d4, and black would end up material ahead. So that's just the tactic that I'm looking for, is I want to play c4. Now I know it doesn't work. Let's move on.
Oh my god, and look how nervous is Alireza Firouzja. He is checking the time, calculating the moves. He feels that he has much better version of the game than before, and he doesn't want to make any mistakes.
And he's now down under 30 seconds himself. He is trying to figure this out. He looked. That's what happens. You glance at the clock. You just get distracted instead of just focusing on the board. Oh wait, 20 seconds now. I got to move. And he's calculating. You see it in his eyes. He's trying to figure out the truth of the position. And he ends up
something.
Yeah, he took bishop takes f4.
I don't like that.
No, I don't love it either. But is there a knight f5 check? That's the question. Can he block the the bishop's protection from the queen? But that allows a bunch of trades, and you don't want necessarily to get into a rook endgame where you only have one pawn. If the queens can come off the board, those kind of endgames have drawish tendencies when you only have one pawn.
Like so you mean that after knight f5, black has to take, right?
Right.
Otherwise, the bishop is lost. Rook takes, and
then
how
make
does
queen
the queen come
g5 kind of thing? Does that work?
Did he play knight f5? Yeah,
he
played knight f5.
We have this exact position.
We have exactly this position. So g takes f5, rook takes f4.
And so queen g5 is what I'm looking at.
Queen g5.
Because you can't take with the queen on f5. You get checkmated thanks to rook d1 check and the queen coming to h4 with mate. So that keeps your queen frozen and your rook's under attack. So if you take with the rook on f5, then I take your pawn on g4. And I'm just trying to figure out, like, is there a way for black to kind of force the queens off the board, enter a rook and pawn game down just one pawn with good chances to hold that?
Yeah, I agree with you. But when you see such simplification and when you're down to 1 minute, somehow uh, you just go for it, I think.
And I mean,
Just not to
Fabi,
have any difficult lines to continue, and White is just 2 moves away from the time control.
right, move 38. Fabi now down under 40 seconds. He seems a bit nervous, and he's
Yeah.
trying to figure this out because he's in danger of being down a second pawn. The pawn f5 is pinned to the queen. He knows that rook takes f5 is coming, but he just needs to find something here. Queen to d6 or queen to g5. I don't like queen d6 because of rook d4, but queen g5 is a difficult move to play, and I'm not even certain that it works out perfectly for black. So,
And
he
after
looked at the
queen
clock.
g5, if queen takes, then what is? Yeah, he
Rook,
did
rook
play
d1.
queen g5.
Rook d1 would be made.
Okay, rook d1. Yeah, that's very important. That queen f5. Let's show it on the board. Rook d1, and black is winning here, actually. So no queen f5, but after queen g5, now Alireza down to 40 seconds. He has to move quickly, decide how to take the pawn on f5. I guess rook takes f5, queen takes g4.
Yep.
And you still cannot take pawn on a5, right? Because of rook d1.
Exactly. And he's hovering. I think he's going to play rook takes f5.
Yeah,
Yep,
rook
there he
f5.
plays it.
Rook takes, queen takes.
And
And
black
let's
is actually
just
the one.
show that, yeah, this doesn't work because of rook d1.
Right. So black is the one with bigger threats here. Like, black is down a pawn, but there's the threat of checkmate.
One move, and he did it. He reached the time control with rook f3, closing the h5 d1 diagonal. It's still a minute for Fabiano to think and reach the time control. It is very important now what move he will make and if he's able to hold this endgame.
Yeah, and he looks like the only man in the world right now. He's by himself. He's down under 35 seconds and is the final move before time trouble. And the threat is rook g3, winning his queen. So he needs to figure this all out at once. Does he just move his king out of the way? Does he move his queen somewhere? Where should the queen go to? And now it's 20 seconds, and he did just make his move. Queen h5, cool as a cucumber, pours himself a glass of water. That boy is thirsty, and he's going to have himself a drink.